Good afternoon. Two people are facing dozens of charges in connection with a series of thefts targeting mausoleums and cemeteries across the GTA.
Halton police announced the results of a months-long investigation this morning, which tracked hundreds of thefts. CTV's Rahim Ladhani has been following this investigation. He joins us live with more. Rahim.
Michelle and Nathan, good afternoon. This is a very disturbing series of crimes that have potentially impacted just about anyone who has laid a loved one to rest in a mausoleum and cemetery. And what makes this even more tragic is that there are likely victims who don't even know they have been a victim of this crime. What we're showing you right now are nearly 600 of the stolen items that have been recovered by police. Everything from necklaces to watches and very personal keepsakes. And this is only a fraction of the stolen goods because police say the accused have admitted to melting down and pawning several other pieces. Halton police say that two individuals, a man and woman, have been entering cemeteries in broad daylight, often posing as grieving family members and using that ruse to enter mausoleums and then break open niche compartments, which often store decorative urns, jewelry, and other very personal keepsakes. It's alleged the pair did this more than 300 times across 8 mausoleums in Toronto, Burlington, Oakville, and the Niagara region. Furthermore, police allege the thieves stole jewelry containing human remains. They dumped ashes and then sold the property at pawn shops or through private sales. Earlier this month, on November 7th, police executed a search warrant and arrested the two suspects at a motel in Niagara Falls. They also recovered thousands of dollars worth of jewelry and other stolen property. Have a listen to what police are saying about this investigation.
Most of the thefts occurred in daylight hours. Tools were used to unlock and open niches without visible damage, thereby making detection extremely difficult. Some of the stolen property was sold, melted down, or discarded. We also discovered the accused had dumped the ashes of loved ones, a reprehensible, disrespectful, and immoral act. Let me be absolutely clear. This was not a crime of opportunity. It was premeditated, deliberate, and utterly disgraceful.
What you're looking at right now are pictures of the accused, 45-year-old John Rutch and 31-year-old Jordan Noble. Both have no fixed address. Together, they're facing a combined 53 charges, including indignity to a human body and theft under $5,000. Police say they do have previous criminal records, and they were out on release related to other theft charges. Now, as I mentioned off the top, police say there are likely more family members and individuals who have been a victim of this crime who likely don't know that they've been a victim because they just haven't visited the mausoleum. And so they're encouraging people to do so and to contact them if they believe they've been a victim of this crime. Reporting live, I'm Rahim Ladhani. Nathan, back to you.
All right, thank you, Rahim. Durham Regional Police are investigating a fatal shooting in Beaverton, roughly 80 kilometers north of Oshawa. Initially, police received reports a man had been dropped off at a local hospital with gunshot wounds. He later died in hospital. They later determined he'd been shot near Mara Road and Simcoe Street in Beaverton. Durham Police's homicide unit has taken over the investigation, and they're asking anybody with information to come forward.
3 volunteer firefighters were injured after being struck by a vehicle in Uxbridge last night. Durham Regional Police say the firefighters were at the scene of a crash on Wag Road near Highway 47 when they were struck by an SUV. All 3 were taken to hospital, but one has since been discharged. The driver involved in the original collision was also taken to hospital in stable condition. The Uxbridge fire chief says roads were icy at the time of the incident. The exact cause, however, is still under investigation. Still to come on CTV News at noon, MPs are set to vote on the Liberal government's budget today. We'll have more on the vote, which could potentially trigger a Christmas election. That's coming up a little later in the newscast.
For the first time ever, the Palestinian flag is flying at Toronto City Hall.
The flag raising marked the 37th anniversary of the Palestinian Declaration of Independence and was also the subject of a court injunction. CTV's Sean Leithong has been following this story. He joins us live with more. Sean.
Well, Michelle and Nathan, the flag raising came as part of a petition from the Justice for Palestinian my apologies, that had petitioned City Hall a couple days ago, and they declared that they would go ahead because of that reason, because Canada had recognized the Palestinian statehood back in September, which allows for the courtesy flag that you see over my shoulder to be raised. And now this actually happened at about 10 o'clock this morning, and you mentioned the court injunction, as there had been a pro-Israeli group trying to stop the flag from being raised, but it did go ahead. There was a crowd of a few dozen up at the podium, but a few hundred more were actually down in Nathan Phillips Square for the raising, and there was quite a cheer when the flag itself actually went up. We spoke to a few people a little while afterwards about how they felt about this symbolic gesture.
This day means everything. This is a moment where the city of Toronto, in acknowledgement of the state of Palestine, is standing up and raising the flag of a nation that should have been recognized many, many years ago.
For a long time, we've not been able to talk about Palestine or express our Palestinianness in public spaces. And because of our collective efforts, we are here today to raise the Palestinian flag and celebrate the unity we have formed over the last several years.
If you count down 2 years ago, asking for ceasefire would have fired people from their job, all the way today for us standing beside the Palestinian flag raised in front of the city of Toronto and multiple cities. It makes me feel very emotional.
Now, Mayor Olivia Chow did not attend the ceremony, and it should be noted that many flags can raise, as you said off the top, for a country's anniversary or for special events. The Israeli flag was raised back on May 1st. Reporting live, I'm Sean Leathon. Nathan Bichelle, send it back to you.
Thank you, Sean. Toronto's top doctor rolled up her sleeve this morning to get vaccinated.
May not always just be about yourself. So your flu that you might have, you might be able to recover well, but it's also about the people around you. You probably are interacting with people who might have immune-compromised systems, people who are elderly, really young children. So keeping yourself healthy is about, obviously nobody likes to be flat on their back for a couch for a week. It doesn't feel great, but also thinking about how we can protect people around us as well.
Dr. Michelle Murdy, Toronto's medical officer of health, was joined by Board of Health Chair Chris Moyes to receive their shots and highlight the importance of getting vaccinated against the flu, COVID-19, and RSV. Toronto Public Health is reminding residents vaccines are available for those who are eligible.
A note for commuters: construction tied to the Ontario Place redevelopment project is impacting traffic on Lakeshore Boulevard for the next 2 weeks. The intersection of Lakeshore and Ontario Place Boulevard has been reduced to a single lane for the installation of a new sewer connection. The work is expected to be completed by Monday, December 1st. Drivers are being urged to give themselves extra time to get through the construction zone or to take public transit.
The TTC has made some service improvements and adjustments. Service has been increased on Line 1 with 10 additional trains for the weekday morning rush and 15 more trains for the evening rush. The TTC says the changes will reduce crowding and cut wait times by 30 seconds. Service has also been increased on the 505 Dundas and the 511 Bathurst streetcar routes. Meanwhile, the TTC has also introduced 2 new bus routes and adjusted service on 7 others. It comes as the transit agency prepares for the opening of the Finch West LRT. A full list of adjusted routes can be found on the TTC's website.
We have more news in a moment, but first, here is a live look at the city this afternoon. Mainly cloudy to start the work week, a bit of sunshine. It's also chilly, so we are in hats and gloves territory. The rest of the week looks okay. Lindsay Morrison has a look at how things are now. Hey, Lindsay.
Yeah, Nathan, not too eventful this week, which is always nice when it comes to the weather. We've had a fair amount of active weather recently, and we still have some lake effect snow impacting areas like Collingwood, Stayner, Angus, and then this snow squall has been making its way off Lake Huron, impacting Goderich down toward Ingersoll and London. A couple of stray flurries, a possibility for us still in the GTA for today, but for the most part, it is expected to taper off. Now, it remains windy out there, not as gusty as it was yesterday, but they are contributing to the snow squall warning that remains in effect for areas well to our west. There's the sustained winds for Toronto around 30K, gusting upwards of 50 kilometers per hour right now. We had 70K gusts yesterday. Temperature, it's 4 degrees, but it feels like -1, so make sure you're taking that wind chill into consideration. Here's today at a glance. We'll take a full look at your 7-day forecast coming up. For now, Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. It's a big day on Parliament Hill as MPs get set to vote on the Liberal government's budget. The margin is razor thin, and a vote against the spending limit spending document make that could potentially set up a Christmas election. The Prime Minister expressed confidence as he arrived on Parliament Hill this morning.
I've been across the country this past week, from Montreal to Deux Montagnes, Fredericton, Terrace, BC, Vancouver, Winnipeg, and what Canadians want is to invest in their country. A confident budget, a budget that moves forward, brings us together from local infrastructure to new ports, new future, more independent, stronger Canada, better Canada for all. And that's the opportunity for parliamentarians to vote today, and we're going strong with that and look forward to the support.
And CTV's Colton Prale has been following this story and joins us live from Ottawa with more. Colton, any idea how this vote is going to play out?
Yeah, Nathan, it's going to be really interesting to watch because, of course, an election is on the line. As of this afternoon, we can confirm that the Bloc Québécois has reiterated their stated intention to vote against this bill, not just the leader, but all of his MPs. Last week, we heard Pierre Poilievre said that his MPs would be unanimously opposing this bill, and that's an interesting word to say, unanimously. It's important because, as we've talked about before, the Liberals need 4 MPs to abstain from voting, or 2 opposition MPs to vote in favor with them in order for this bill to pass. There's also a universe where 1 person votes in favor, 2 MPs abstain, and that gets through as well. But the point being, they need help, and they don't know where that help is coming from. And we had seen in the 2 previous budget confidence votes, 1 singular Conservative MP abstain from voting in each of them. That was Matt Genereux. Now, the fact that Poilievre says that all of his MPs will oppose it means that then the entire focus of abstention or potential support falls on the Greens and the NDP. This weekend, Elizabeth May says she doesn't see a way that she could support this budget without changes to the climate policy. Now, we know that the Liberals in May have been talking, and there's still potentially an opportunity to convince her to join them or to abstain from this vote. But crucially, in that same interview, she also said that her job isn't not to vote. And so if she's not abstaining, then you need 4 members of the NDP to abstain, and that puts a lot of pressure on that party. It is very much a political tightrope. It's a big game of chicken where the Liberals are expecting other opposition parties who don't want an election to blink first. But if they don't blink, we will be heading to the polls potentially as early as about Christmas time or early New Year.
So is there any possibility that a deal can be reached? I mean, what happens if the budget does not pass?
Yeah, if it doesn't pass, we're forced into that election period. This is a confidence vote, so it would mean that there is no confidence in government. Mr. Carney would go to the Governor General, dissolve Parliament, and we would be heading back to the polls. That's the procedure if this doesn't pass. But is there a possibility that it does? Absolutely. Right now, the Liberals feel the most confident heading into an election. You don't want to be the party that is seen to have forced an election because current polling shows us most Canadians aren't eager to head to the ballot box, and so whoever is bearing the blame for making them do so, especially in the Christmas period, is certain to be punished by voters. And so that's not a great scenario for any party. It's especially not a great scenario for opposition parties because the Liberals are so close to a majority, and current polling still shows Mark Carney far above Pierre Poilievre, and the party's close enough that they could actually win that majority government should we head to the polls. So it's not particularly appetizing for the Conservatives or the NDP, and so we've been hearing, for example, that there's even been pressure from opposition parties like the Conservatives on the NDP to abstain from this. Where this gets interesting, and perhaps where it makes the most sense, is if Matt Genereux, the Conservative MP, does abstain from this, then you only need 3 other abstentions, and if those were to all come from the NDP, because they have 7 MPs total, what you would have is a situation where the budget passes, but where every opposition party is able to say the majority of their members voted against the budget. And that is a little more politically palatable, but again, it requires 1 MP who is not in the Liberals and who is not in the NDP to abstain in order to hit those numbers. If that doesn't happen, then the NDP is going to be forced into a situation where the majority of their members would have to abstain. It would tie them again close to the Liberals. We saw how damaging that was in the last federal election, and that might not be something that the party wants to do, even if they are very adverse to heading into an election right now.
There's so many possible scenarios. CTV's Colton Prale in Ottawa. Thank you.
Anytime.
Canada's inflation rate dropped slightly in October, down to 2.2% compared to 2.4% in September. Statistics Canada says falling gas prices and slower growth in grocery prices helped fuel the decline. That contrasted with higher prices for cellular services as well as home and auto insurance. The Bank of Canada has cited stable inflation as one of the main reasons it signaled a halt to rate cuts last month. As thousands of Canadians search for a family doctor, some provinces are leaning on nurse practitioners to help fill the healthcare gaps.
In Prince Edward Island, clinics are shifting to a collaborative model aimed at easing the pressure on doctors. CTV's Maria Saru has the details.
I'm just going to check your lungs, okay?
A nurse practitioner is running this checkup, pressing her stethoscope to a patient's chest. While their scope of practice varies from province to province, it's expanding, says the Nurse Practitioner Association of Canada.
In many jurisdictions, they're being recognized as primary care providers who can independently practice and who can independently manage a panel of patients.
The association's president-elect adds, generally, they can diagnose medical conditions, order lab tests, prescribe medications, perform some procedures, and more. Plus, they're playing a big part in a local and national shift away from a model where one family doctor sees most patients towards a more collaborative approach.
Prince Edward Island is certainly is leading the country when it comes to the shift and the implementation of interdisciplinary team-based care.
Behind me is one of at least 17 patient medical homes on the island. Inside, nurse practitioners work with family doctors, social workers, pharmacists, and other providers to deliver care as a team.
The goal is fewer patients on wait lists and less burnout for healthcare workers. As Canada marks National Nurse Practitioner Week, some advocates want to see PEI allow them to run their own clinics independently.
NPs are then able to work outside of that typical 9 to 5 schedule that's enacted by an employer and set their own hours to better suit patient needs.
It's already in place in Alberta, with Saskatchewan also piloting a government-funded program. The aim is better access for all. Maria Saru, CTV News, Charlottetown.
The Saskatchewan Roughriders are Grey Cup champions. They beat the Montreal Alouettes in the CFL's championship game last night.
Last play. Alexander needs a touchdown. Heaving it down the field, into the end zone, deflected, and it falls to the field.
A Hail Mary for the Alouettes on their final play didn't pan out, with the Roughriders winning the game 25-17. The crucial moment for Montreal came on their previous possession when their backup quarterback fumbled the ball at the Saskatchewan goal line with 3 minutes to go. Roughriders quarterback Trevor Harris passed for 302 yards and was named Grey Cup MVP.
I'm just happy for these guys out here, man. I freaking love all you guys, man. And we were so close this year, and that's what made the difference, man. I love each and every single one of you guys. And without you guys, this doesn't happen, man. We're champs forever. Let's go!
This is the first Grey Cup championship for the Roughriders in 12 years. And for more on the game, we're joined live by CTV's Scott Hurst. Scott, a big win for the Roughriders. Break down the action for us.
Michelle, good afternoon. The Saskatchewan Roughriders are now returning home to a hero's welcome as the city of Regina will now prepare for a championship parade, and that'll take place on Tuesday. But as you mentioned, and as we saw in the highlights, here's the play right here. It all came down to a potential game-tying play, but the Hail Mary to the end zone fell incomplete. Therefore, Montreal didn't even get the chance at a two-point play, with the final score finishing 25-17 in front of a sold-out crowd of more than 32,000, taking in the 112th Grey Cup in Winnipeg. This is the 5th Grey Cup overall for Saskatchewan, ending a 12-year championship drought. So that rabid fan base, Michelle, they've been waiting quite a while to celebrate, and they will be doing that. Maybe they've been doing that since the final whistle, but as I mentioned, they will line the streets of Regina tomorrow for the championship parade.
It is fun to watch all those tears in the crowd there. Now, we've covered this a few months back. The CFL game is changing for the 2026 season with brand new rules. Bring us up to speed on what's to come.
Yeah, so all the celebration happening over the last week, the Grey Cup week, always a good time, always a big party leading up to the big game. All this happening on the backdrop of some major changes, and as you might expect with anything this significant, it's not sitting well with some diehard fans who really don't want to see the uniqueness of Canadian football disappear. As you mentioned, the changes announced in September include, starting next year, a longer play clock, a revised rouge rule, and a change in the placement of the benches for all fields. And then bigger changes in 2027, a shorter field, smaller end zones, and goalposts move from the goal line to the back of the end zone. Now, those in favor of the rule changes argue it's necessary to attract a whole new generation of fans, but those who oppose it argue it's ultimately Americanizing the game, trying to make it too much like the NFL. And we saw from an Angus Reid survey released this past week in time for the championship game, it does show overall support for the CFL and viewership is declining. Canadians who say they closely or very closely follow the CFL has dropped from 21% in 2018 to 16% now in 2025, Michelle. But in the meantime, right now, it's all about the celebration for the Saskatchewan Roughriders Grey Cup champions.
Congratulations to them. CTV's Scott Hurst live for us in the National Newsroom. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.
Mental health risks are at the core of a new legal battle targeting the artificial intelligence industry.
CTV's Kamil Karamali has more on an Ontario man's warning and the lawsuit aiming to hold tech giant OpenAI more accountable.
I'm just flabbergasted every time I read this.
For more than 3 weeks this past year, every time Alan Brooks logged on, he says the AI chatbot ChatGPT led him to believe he was a genius.
Essentially, it sent me on a world-saving mission.
That he'd discovered a math formula powerful enough to take down some of the world's biggest institutions, and that he needed to report it right away.
Essentially warned me with great urgency that one of our discoveries was very dangerous, and we needed to warn all these different authorities.
Each time you questioned it or doubted it, what did it say in response?
Over 50 times I asked for some sort of reality check or grounding mechanism, and each time it would just gaslight me further.
Every time the chatbot reinforced that all of it was real. You should not walk away from this. You are not crazy. You are ahead. The implications are real and urgent. Brooks says ChatGPT's responses, more than 1 million words, led him to psychosis and delusion, left him with mental health issues, realizing he had lost touch with reality only when he checked in with another company's chatbot.
Extreme anxiety, paranoia, affected my sleep. I couldn't eat.
Now Brooks issuing one of 7 lawsuits filed concurrently against ChatGPT's parent company, OpenAI. In 4 of those cases, the users committed suicide.
That chatbot has been fatally designed to create emotional dependency with users, even if that's not what they set out looking for.
OpenAI calls it a heartbreaking situation and that it continues to strengthen ChatGPT's responses in sensitive moments.
We need strong governmental institutions to hold them to account.
But that's proving to be a challenge, with AI companies caught up in a high-paced competition against each other.
So right now, unfortunately, the race is going faster than, frankly, we could keep up. And we have to think about how we deal with that, because things will get worse as they get more capable.
For Brooks, he feels the damage to him has been done. But for countless other users, it may not be too late.
What would we do with a human who is running around acting like a suicide coach or pretending to be a therapist when they're not? How would we hold them accountable?
The federal government's AI task force looked into safety issues last month, with a full report and recommendation set to come out to the public early next year. Kamil Karamali, CTV News, Toronto.
A Calgary man and his daughter have died after being swept into the ocean by a large wave in California.
The storm that passed through created a large swell that's generated very big waves here at Garrapata State Beach.
It happened on Friday in an area known for rip currents. The local sheriff's office says 39-year-old Yuji Hugh and the girl's mother, who's not being identified, went into the water to try to save their daughter. The girl had been swept into the ocean by waves as high as 6 meters. Both parents were taken to hospital, where Hugh later died. The mother is in stable condition.
U.S. President Donald Trump is now urging Republican lawmakers to vote to release the Jeffrey Epstein files, a complete reversal from his previous position. Trump has faced repeated questions about his links to Epstein and his potential knowledge of the late financier's sex trafficking operation. Trump has maintained he has nothing to hide in connection with Epstein. However, questions about his relationship with the convicted sex offender who died in 2019 have fueled speculation and led to fractures with loyalists in Congress. Several Republicans have indicated they are willing to break ranks and vote in favor of a bill which would compel the U.S. government to make public all of the documents on Epstein.
Meanwhile, Trump says he may soon have discussions with Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro as the U.S. builds up its military presence near South America.
We may be having some discussions with Maduro, and we'll see how that turns out. They would like to talk.
The comments come as the U.S. military says another strike was carried out on a small boat in international waters, which they say was allegedly carrying illegal drugs. The strike is the latest in a series of similar instances in the Caribbean and Eastern Pacific by U.S. forces, which have killed at least 83 people. An American aircraft carrier and other warships have arrived near South America, marking a major escalation in U.S. operations in the region.
A peace plan for Gaza drafted by the U.S. is facing a crucial vote today, which could determine whether the ongoing ceasefire can be turned into a long-term solution. The plan opens the door for the possibility of a future Palestinian state, something Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu strongly opposes. The 15-member United Nations Security Council will vote on the draft resolution of the U.S. plan. It will need 9 votes to pass, but China or Russia could veto the plan outright. If the vote fails, it would create further uncertainty about the second phase of the ceasefire plan between Israel and Hamas. A delegation from Moscow has also tabled its own proposal, which includes stronger language supporting Palestinian statehood.
The U.S. Federal Aviation Administration is lifting all restrictions on commercial flights that were imposed during the 43-day government shutdown. Airlines were allowed to resume normal flight schedules as of 6 a.m. Eastern Time. The unprecedented order to cut flights at 40 major American airports had been in place since November 7th and affected thousands of flights. The FAA said it was necessary to ease the strain on the system and help manage staffing shortages at air traffic control facilities during the shutdown.
Well, technically, our temperatures as of late haven't been too far below seasonal, but you factor in the winds, and it's been feeling a lot cooler than that core temperature suggests. So yes, 'tis the season for the wind chill. Here's a look at our almanac for today. Seasonal norm is now around 7 degrees, and we will be close to that over the coming days. Tonight, though, is going to be a little chilly. -3 degrees our forecast low, but it is going to feel closer to -7. Coming up, we'll take you through the 7-day forecast, and we're already looking ahead to next weekend. We'll show you what's in store on the other side of this break here on CTV News at noon.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
Well, we're into mid-November now, and it's feeling like it. Definitely a colder start to the day, and the weekend with the wind whipping up. It's like, well, okay, we're here.
Yeah, it feels like it's just inevitable. You're going to have to break out the big coats and the hats and the gloves because it's going to get even chillier.
Yeah, and about a week ago, we were talking about the first significant snow here in Toronto and southern Ontario, and guess what? We had more rounds of active weather through the weekend. Some communities picking up another trace to a couple of centimeters of snow. This is pretty unusual for the GTA at this time of year to already have this amount of snow accumulating at times, but it does look like a bit of a quieter week. The winds are going to start to settle down, and our temperature is going to rise a little bit as the week goes on. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm, the injury lawyers you don't pay unless they win. Let's talk about this morning. We have had some periods of sun mixed with cloud for the most part today. But we've also got a little bit of a fresh dusting of snow, as mentioned, on the ground, on rooftops, and many different corners of the GTA. There were a couple of pretty persistent bands off Lake Huron and Georgian Bay that were oscillating a little bit yesterday, bringing some areas rounds of flurries, or perhaps you saw nothing, depending on which part of the region you are in. And look at those fall colors. They're maybe not quite as vibrant as they were just a couple of weeks ago, but still looking pretty good. And we're anticipating a little more in the way of leaf fall in the coming days, especially with how windy it's been. You may have noticed a few leaves knocked off the trees in your neighborhood as of late. We are still watching this snow squall warning that's in place for communities, including London, Ontario, with 10 to 15 centimeters of snow possible by the time this squall is finished. A winter weather travel advisory in place for an area north of that. We've also had some light snow to the south of Georgian Bay. A couple of those flurries earlier today were extending down south toward the GTA, but that has tapered off for the most part. And again, we do suspect that the lake effect machine is going to be turned off in the coming days. Calmer winds. There is this one disturbance here that could impact parts of southwestern Ontario, but shouldn't really be an issue for us here locally in and around Toronto. So there it is, a little bit of mixed precipitation possible midday tomorrow for your Tuesday. In the extreme southwest, so around Windsor, over toward Chatham-Kent, for example. By Wednesday, we are into mostly sunny skies here in the GTA after a mostly cloudy day tomorrow. Temperature-wise, we are at 4 degrees, already reached our forecast daytime high for today. So we'll see if we can hold on there or if temperatures will cool ever so slightly. Even though it's +4, it does feel colder than that once you factor in the winds. There is a chill in the air, and tonight around 5 p.m., the sun will have set and the temperature will be closer to about 1 degree. Here's tomorrow at a glance, mostly cloudy skies and +3. I'll remind you of the fact that our average daytime high is about 7 degrees, and we are going to be closer to that as the week goes on. In fact, Saturday is looking pretty mild. Here is your 7-day forecast. By the time we reach, or Friday, I should say, 8 degrees, that's not bad, but we do return to some showers after a bit of a dry stretch through the middle part of this week, and then showers or flurries look to be possible into the day on Saturday. That's your weather for now. Nathan, I'm going to send it over to you.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. Premier Doug Ford is addressing the media following a virtual First Minister's meeting. Let's listen in live.
To create the environment and the conditions to attract companies to come here and invest. And our #1 selling feature, we have many, but our talent. We have the most talented people anywhere in the world. No matter if it's our energy, our nuclear sector, or manufacturing sector, tech sector, AI sector, and the list keeps going on. But that's what we need to do, is make sure that we create an environment, again, with lower taxes, less red tape, less regulations to attract companies.
Did he give you any indication, Premier, whether he thought the budget would pass? And do you hope the budget passes this afternoon or this evening, I guess it is?
Well, I hope so. I hope the budget passes. He didn't mention if he thought it was passing or not, but I'm pretty confident it's in the best interest of the country to make sure we pass this budget. We work together. It doesn't matter what political stripe you're from. We need to work as Team Canada right now, and that's exactly what we're doing.
Do you still disagree about the cyclical tariffs? Do you and him still opposed or has to growth?
I do. I think especially in our steel sector. I know the Prime Minister will be meeting with the CEOs, I believe tomorrow, of the steel sector. A couple things. We have to make sure that the threshold rate now on tariffs in the steel sector was 60%. And the quota now has been dropped to 50%. I'm going to simplify this. Most steel manufacturing countries around the world, their domestic use is 65 to 85%, meaning they use their own steel. Here in Canada, it's 35%. That's unacceptable. We need to drop the quota down to 25%. So anything over and on top of 25%, these countries get tariffed. I won't name the countries, but there's many of them. They slap a made in whatever country sticker on their steel, ship it over. We know it's cheap Chinese steel with the made in whatever Pakistan sticker on it, because they're one of the countries, and they dump cheap steel here in Ontario that hurts our steel industry. So that's one of many, a quick fix for our steel sector that we'd be looking for.
Did the Prime Minister talk at all about how he would like the provinces to be involved or not involved in the negotiations with the United States?
Well, he specifically said that we should be out there speaking. One comment was about speaking to China, and he encouraged it. And we work collaboratively with the federal government, no matter where we go around the world, and make sure that we, again, sing off the same song sheet as Team Canada, and that's what we're going to focus on.
Did he tell the premiers at all not to run any more commercials, as an example, or
No.
in any way to invest this?
No, he didn't say anything along those lines. We just look forward to continuing to work with the federal government, getting our message out around the world. I want to thank Vic Fideli. I still don't know how he does it, my Minister of Economic Development. He's on a plane all over the world every day. It's absolutely exhausting. But every day he brings back new opportunities. I met with him this morning. He had 4 pages of multi-billion-dollar investments that want to invest in Ontario and the people of Ontario, because we've created the climate for companies to come here by reducing the cost of doing business here by $12 billion each and every single year. But we have to, again, get rid of the duplication from the federal government, no matter if it's the Ring of Fire. It's one window, one project, one decision. And I think he's heard that message, not just from me, but other premiers across our province.
On China, Premier, did the Prime Minister give you any indication that he's willing to back off on the 100% EV tariffs from China? Because that's what they've been asking in order to, drop their tariffs on canola.
Well, we can never drop those tariffs on EV sector. We can't afford to have cheap EV vehicles shipped in from China, undermining our auto sector. And so 100%. I understand where my friends, both two good friends, Wab Canoe and our champion, as we call him, Scott Moe, because they won the Grey Cup last night. So congratulations, Scott. But I understand that's their issue. They're protecting what's the best interests of Saskatchewan and Manitoba. I'm protecting what's in the best interest of Ontario.
Premier, are you concerned about this OPP referral about appeal to the solution?
No, not at all, because it just proves that our audit works, and then we did a forensic audit. We were the ones who did this, and we do it to multiple providers right across the province. If you're getting money from the province, we're going to audit you, and if we see something that doesn't seem right, we're going to do a forensic audit. The Deputy Minister, Attorney General, referred it. I don't direct the OPP. I don't refer stuff, but the Deputy Minister of the Attorney General sent it over to the OPP, and they'll deal with it like anything else.
When was the forensic audit asked for, requested?
Well, it automatically just falls in place. They have the right. The auditing team goes in there. If they see something not right, then they automatically will put a forensic audit in. And if they still see something that's not right, they'll refer it over to the Deputy Minister of the Attorney General, and he refers it over.
Aren't you concerned, though, that your Labour Minister intervened for an application for this company to get skills development funding? Doesn't that show a lack of...
No, I can't say intervene, because what happens is the referrals. Okay, so the referrals come from the Ontario Public Service, and they do a great job, by the way. But what they don't see is when we're out there into the field, no matter if it's a jurisdiction or a sector that needs more help, be it tourism or hospitality or whatever it might be, then at the end of the day, the minister has to make a decision along with the cabinet as well.
But why give money to a company that is facing a forensic audit?
Right away, we froze funding right across the board. When we see something like that, we automatically freeze funding. We give out billions and billions of dollars, and anyone who gets it is going to be held accountable. And that's the reason the audit system worked. I'm actually glad that the audit system worked, and we moved to the next step of the forensic audit, and then we'll find out. But anyone who wants to mishandle any funds coming from the government, they're going to be audited and they're going to be held accountable.
Did Minister Pacini just have no idea this audit was going on?
All right, we're listening to Premier Doug Ford addressing the media after a virtual First Minister's meeting. And he addressed a number of topics. The main priorities of this meeting was to talk about trade, the relationship with the U.S., and also infrastructure investments, and generally keeping premiers in the loop. He was asked about the budget. He says he hopes it passes. There's a need to work as a Team Canada. That needs to be the approach. And he also was asked about the U.S. attack ads. He says that it wasn't addressed in the meeting. And he says the Premier should be allowed to speak out. This is coming from the Prime Minister. And also speak with other countries about doing business, promoting business. But he says ultimately they need to sing off the same song sheet. So, of course, we're going to keep on following this story. And if anything else comes out of it, we'll share it with you online and, of course, on CTV News at 5 and 6. And you are watching CTV News Toronto at noon. We've got more news when we come back. Stay with us.
A space race is underway in Atlantic Canada as Ottawa has pledged more than $180 million for the industry in its proposed budget.
Now, several companies are working to make the Maritimes a destination for satellite launches. CTV's Garrett Berry has the details.
Canada's space race, where companies like Nordspace are facing off to become the commercial hub for rocket launches and satellite deployments, is about to get a major funding injection.
It's going to be a catalyst. It's going to be an accelerant.
$60 million in cash from Ottawa is set to flow to this industry each year for the next 3 years at least, if Mark Carney's first budget passes in the House of Commons.
So to see it be called out so specifically in the Canadian budget is a huge vote of confidence, not just for companies and initiatives like ours, but for the Canadian public, that sovereignty in space is being prioritized for the first time.
Federal officials haven't said much about where this money will go, but the goal is to create a totally Canadian solution to get satellites up in the air.
Geopolitics have really changed the game for Canada in the last year or so.
U.S. President Donald Trump's musings about making Canada the 51st state seem to have boosted the desire to become self-reliant.
Canadians in a day in and day out basis need banking and they have cell phones and global broadband and all these kinds of things that really do depend on satellites in orbit.
The players in this industry say they're ready to receive this money. Maritime Launch Services near Canso, Nova Scotia, has a launch window opening on November 18th. They'll attempt to send a Dutch rocket 100 kilometers into space on their launch pad.
The next step in the puzzle, the big gap for me, isn't really about the spaceports. It's really about the launchers themselves and whether they're ready to fly and get their payloads delivered into orbit. And that's not a small task.
Nordspace CEO Rahul Goyal says he understands the federal government wants this problem solved by 2028. Garrett Berry, CTV News, St. John's.
Still to come, home sales were down in October with prices falling as well. We'll have more on the data when we come back.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Home sales were down in October with prices falling as well. The Canadian Real Estate Association says the number of residential properties that changed hands was down by 4.3% from October 2024. The national average sale price was also down just over 1% as well. On a month-over-month basis, home sales rose just under 1%, the sixth increase in the last 7 months. The CREA predicts housing markets across the country to become more active heading into the next year, with interest rates in what it calls almost stimulative territory.
Cineplex is hosting mystery screenings in an effort to get more people back into theaters.
As CTV's Sarah Plowman explains, moviegoers won't know what they're about to watch until the show starts.
The plot twists before the opening scene. Instead of picking a movie, people can pick a mystery. They won't know what's playing until the show starts.
Sounds fun. I love it. I would totally do that.
Cineplex rolled out its surprise premiere last Monday in select cities from Halifax to Vancouver. The only sure thing is the flick is new and unreleased.
It's a fantastic marketing ploy and one that has been used by other chains.
An interesting effort on their part to try to give consumers a reason to go back to the theaters.
On the first Monday, the audience got a sneak preview of Eternity.
I'm Anna, I'm your afterlife coordinator.
A film set in the afterlife where souls get a week to decide where to spend eternity. At 12 locations, Cineplex says tickets sold out. Cineplex isn't the first to try this in Canada. Landmark Cinemas previously brought in its Monday mystery movies, and the Toronto International Film Festival has a secret movie club.
I think it makes going to the movies special again. Streaming has taken such a ding out of the theatrical experience that you need to do something to keep people interested.
Cinemas have struggled to bring people to seats as streaming has captured audiences. Theaters got a bump in revenue last year, but sales haven't caught up to where they were before the pandemic.
It's just the economics are just so favorable for the consumer to stream versus going to a movie.
But a promotion like this might help. It's not an option everywhere, like in Fredericton, but Cineplex is looking into expanding it.
The mystery would be fun and not kind of like knowing what you're doing, kind of like a surprise.
A little guessing game to start the week. Sarah Plowman, CTV News, Fredericton.
You're watching CTV News Toronto at noon. We've got more news when we come back. Stay with us. Well, talking about the forecast, and once again, we're off to a chilly start to the week, but overall, it seems like it's going to be okay.
You know what? It's nice that we've got some sunshine in the mix this week and no rain or anything for at least a number of days.
Yeah. Some areas to our west are still getting a little bit of light snow, but it's less of a concern for us here in the GTA. Should be a decently quiet week, at least to start. One more look at the satellite and radar is going to show you where that snow is in case your travel plans take you across the province. Today, it's mainly north and west of here. Overnight tonight, this is a little cool for this time of year in Toronto. -3 degrees will feel like -7 once you take those northwest winds into consideration. So bundle up. Tomorrow's daytime high, 3 degrees on the plus side. 7 on the plus side is our seasonal average, and you'll notice that we climb a little bit closer to that as the week goes on. 7 degrees for Thursday, 8 degrees on Friday. Looks like we'll get into a little bit of shower activity Friday that could linger into the weekend, and then Saturday, Sunday look not bad, maybe a little cloudy at times. Nathan and Michelle.
All right, thanks, Lindsay. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Gallagher. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great afternoon.